How we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. If this is your first time watching me, welcome to the channel. Have a look around the different videos and get lost in all the good stuff. And yeah, welcome aboard. But if you're a regular viewer, I know what you're thinking. Where the bloody hell have you been? We thought you'd been abducted. Well, yeah, more or less was. I've not stopped working, basically. I wanted to record this video on Friday. And yeah, it just didn't happen. A colleague went sick, so I ended up covering a load of shifts. And I've just worked out from Monday evening up until this morning, I've done 84 hours in a week. And I'm back at work tomorrow. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I'm going grey, folks. Anyway, we're doing a retrospective. This is going to be part one of a part two retrospective. And we are talking about, of course, you've read the title, you looked at the thumbnail. We are talking about the almighty Testament. And I can't believe I've not covered this band before, because they are one of my favourite bands. Where did you start with Testament? I mean, I've been listening to Testament, well, I can't even remember when, but I can't remember when it was, but Luke, who I do Maidencast and Panteracast with, gave me a blank CD with the track list written on it, and he basically just made me a compilation of Testament songs, and then bit by bit I just picked up CDs as and when I saw them whilst record shopping, basically. And then really jumped on board around the time the Formation of Damnation came out. That's when I started seeing them live, and obviously because there was that 9-year gap of non-activity, which we'll come to. But yeah, a lot of people, you know, I'm about to have a whinge, but I'm about to do it myself. But in thrash metal and music discussion groups and online, everyone seems to be they've always got this thing about the big four when it comes to thrash metal, and who would be the big five, you know, who would be the fifth, and now Slayer have retired. Who should replace them? Well, it's Testament. It's Testament, because what you all seem to get wrong or can't quite compute, it's the big four, not the best four. So in terms of record sales and you know, ticket sales, some people go, no, it should be Exodus, yeah, but whenever Exodus and Testament tour together, it's always Testament that are headlining. So yes, it's going to be Testament. But in terms of quality, yes, absolutely, I think it should be Testament. I love Exodus as well. I've just done part one of a retrospective of them, and part two is coming. But yeah, it's neck and neck in all fairness. But yeah, I just think for my money, it should be Testament. And I think in terms of quality and consistency of output, especially post 2000 and post 2010, Testament blow the big four away, all four bands. And I think also, if you want to say who's the best out of the four, I go again based strictly on, like, say, last 3 albums, last 5 albums, whatever you want to call it, or at least post 2010. I'd say Megadeth, but even Testament are better than Megadeth in terms of latest output. So we can argue about the classic material and classic first runs all day, but yeah, Testament are who my money's on. So let's get into it. I mean, if you don't know who Testament are a thrash metal band, but they've got a good dose of classic heavy metal, a good dose of melody when needed, and later on, which we'll mainly cover in part two, I guess. They get a lot heavier and embrace the underground, and a lot of interesting albums come on, but you'll have to wait for part two for them. So today, this is part one. We're going to be talking about the initial run of the band, and I guess that'll be covering up until, what does it say, 1992? Let's have a quick look. Up until, so we're going to be talking about 1985-ish, up until 1992's The Ritual. So basically, we're covering the Louis Clemente years, basically the original lineup, and there is a clear dividing line between original lineup Testament and basically when Louis Clemente leaves the band. So I thought this would be a good way to cover part one, and then part two we'll start with Low and come up to present day. So let's get into it. So Testament started around, well, Testament actually started out as Legacy. They actually formed in 1983 with a couple of various lineups, but I always go from the first recorded output. So the first Legacy demo was in 1985, and the big thing about Legacy was that Steve Zetro Souza was the original vocalist of the band. Steve would jump ship and join Exodus. We cover that in part one of the Exodus retrospective, and the band had to change their name because of a rhythm and blues band. I think they were rhythm and blues or soul, or in the vein of Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, they there was already a band called Legacy, so they changed their name to Testament and called their first album The Legacy. So, but I managed to track down the original Legacy demo. Don't ask me where I bought this. I can't remember. But this is a great little gem if you can find it. This is Legacy Demos 1984 to 85. So if you can track that down, I highly recommend it. Because this demo is awesome. It's pretty much the same lineup as the first album. I think there might be a different drum. Right, yeah, so obviously Alex Skoldnick on guitars, Eric Peterson on guitar, and Greg Christian on bass. But this time you have Steve Zetro Souza on vocals and Mike Ronchetti, I think that is, on drums. And this is awesome. I mean, you'll probably find it on YouTube. But you get Burnt Offerings, Reign of Terror, Alone in the Dark, and Raging Waters. And so they're all early recordings of the songs that would all appear on the Legacy. Reign of Terror will later be recorded during the New Order sessions, but it never made it onto the album. Although they do play it live in Eindhoven, but the studio version actually finally appeared on the Return of the Apocalyptic City EP, and it was also re-recorded for First Strike, Still Deadly. We'll get all to that later. So, but yeah, so you got classic Testament songs here in their original form. They're a lot rougher around the edges, a lot more raw, obviously. The intro to Burnt Offerings on this, I think I prefer. If you get this particular edition as well, there's a rehearsal afterwards where you get Legacy, Prowess of Torture, Intruder, and Soul Snatcher. There's a couple of songs there that's the only place you can get them, unless there are reworked later on. I'm not sure. But yeah, 1984 rehearsal. Oh, with the original singer Derek Ramirez. I didn't realise that. I'm just reading it there. So yeah, check that out if you can get it. This is a nice little gem, especially if you are a Testament stroke Exodus fan. And when listening to this, you can hear Steve's influence on Chuck Billy as a vocalist. Maybe he's just used to those songs and he's just trying to stay faithful to them. I'm not sure. But anyway, so Steve Souza jumps ship, joins Exodus. Because of a band that's already got the name Legacy, the band had to change their name. So they changed their name to Testament. And they get a new vocalist, Chuck Billy, and a new drummer, Louis Clemente. And they put out The Legacy in 1987. So Steve Souza wrote the majority of the lyrics for this album. So, and I'm guessing, I mean, I don't know. Did he sign his rights away, or is he still getting royalties from this album? I'm not sure. They must have a good relationship, because he still contributes lyrics to this day, and obviously he's just left for Exodus. But while he was in Exodus, Chuck Billy is actually Exodus's manager. I was going to say drummer then. But yeah, right. So let's get into it. I'll keep meandering. 1987, the original full-length album, The Legacy. what can I say about this album that hasn't been said a million times? I mean, every song on here is a classic. It's energetic, it's raw, the riffs are amazing, the melodies are amazing. Alex Skolnick's solos are just phenomenal. He is from the Kirk Hammett school of Joe Satriani. Eric Peterson, I think, is an unsung hero of not only thrash metal but metal in general. He's the only one. Him and Chuck Billy are the only ones that have been on every Testament album, but Eric Peterson's the only one that's been, you know, there from the beginning. He's on the Legacy demo. Obviously, Alex left and came back. But, yeah, Over the Wall. I mean, still a fairly regular set opener to this day. You know, it's just so energetic. It's got that beautiful melody and that, and obviously now live you get the whole whoa, 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 you know, along with it. Over the wall, you know, it's brilliant. Then you got the haunting, that classic riff, you know, you can't not love haunting. Burnt Offerings, that beautiful little melodic solo. Let's turn this phone off before someone. Raging Waters, another brilliant song. You know, First Strike Still Deadly, Alone in the Dark, how can you not love that? Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 classic debut from start to finish. And yeah, it's brilliant. What can you say at this point? If you are new to Testament, this is perfect place to start. And if you are young and you're getting into thrash metal, this is an absolute essential. Yeah, so next up we have the following year, same year even, 1987, live in Eindhoven. This isn't really, this had different artwork to begin with, so this is the edition I've got, but the original artwork is on the back there. I think this edition as well, you get the full set. I think originally it was an EP, but this one you get, 10 tracks. 10 tracks. One of them's an Alex Skolnick solo. But yeah, like I say, I think you get the full set on this one. I think originally it was like 4 or 5 songs. Forbidden have a live in Eindhoven EP as well. I'm sure a couple of other bands do as well. I think this is you would get that a lot, you know, live at Dynamo and so on and so forth. But yeah, this is a great little album stroke EP, and it's the band Full Force in their young, hungry state. What's cool about this is that you get you would get an early rendition. Oh no, you don't. I'm just looking at the track listing here. Right, that's interesting. So the original track listing, all you got was Over the Wall, Burnt Offerings, Do or Die, Apocalyptic City, Reign of Terror. Now, Reign of Terror was from the original EP. It was recorded during the New Order sessions, but didn't make the album. But what you get here is they open with Disciples of the Watch. So at the time, they would have opened with a new song. But yeah, let's go through it. So you get Disciples of the Watch, The Haunting, The Apocalyptic City, First Strike Still Deadly, Burnt Offerings, Alex Skolnick solo, then Over the Wall, Do or Die, Curse of the Legions of Death. That's also from Legacy, and then Reign of Terror. Yeah, again, great little album. They're obviously on quite early during a festival. And when was it recorded? Live at Eindhoven. Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, they're just full throttle. They're just, you know, this is them again when they're young and hungry. And yeah, great little live album to have. Next up then, you've got the 1988, The New Order. Now, I don't want to say this is a difficult second album. I mean, it's a classic in many people's eyes. The first 2 albums, for some people, are the best Testament. I'm not sure how much I agree with that. Although that is classic Testament, it's certainly the foundation of Testament. But when you get into it, so Rage of Order, although it was recorded while this out during this session, didn't make the album. You get an Aerosmith cover. And I like that cover. It is a very good cover. But of Nobody's Fault, which is a bit of an underrated Aerosmith gem. in these days. You know, most people now just think of Aerosmith as like loving an elevator and crying and what's that poxy song from the Armageddon soundtrack? Don't want to miss a thing. It weren't bad at first, but after the 1000th time. But yeah, Nobody's Fault by Aerosmith. It's a really good cover. But yeah, so you get one cover and two instrumentals, I believe. Yeah, 2 instrumentals. So we get 9 tracks on this. Take away the 2 instrumentals and the cover, you only get 6 songs. I think I would have preferred Reign of Terror on the album instead of the Aerosmith cover. But say there was a modern reissue, I can't see why they can't add it to the album. Just like Iron Maiden added Total Eclipse to Number of the Beast, you know. But with that being said, though, so I'm saying like this is a second album, but you only really get 6 songs. With that being said, those 6 songs are awesome. So yeah, it kind of makes up. It covers a multitude of sins. I'm just going to hold that there until the camera focuses. So Eerie Inhabitants shows straight away. This sort of shows a bit of maturity in the songwriting. It's got a beautiful solo and a melodic section in the middle, and I think with the Legacy, it's the band's original live set. You know that first album, you get that run of energy. Let's zoom in there. Come on. Here we go. Yeah. What it seems like the New Order, they've taken a bit of a step back and focused on the songs. I think a lot of the songs on the Legacy would have been tested in a live setting, while New Order would have a song here and there maybe would have been thrown out, but this would have been mainly in the studio. The New Order, I mean, that intro, that dun 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 bum, with that scorching solo over the middle. I mean, that intro alone is worth the admission price. Into the Pit, I love that opening riff as well with that rhythm. That you know, into the pit. Heavy as fuck. I mean, what a song. Hypnosis is like a bit of an extended intro. As I say, it's an extended intro to Disciples of the Watch. The intro to Disciples of the Watch as a little melodic intro anyway. But Hypnosis basically is just that extended. But Disciples of the Watch, again, another classic song. Great main riff. The Preacher, again, like I said about Over the Wall, if you see Testament, I've even seen Testament headlining, and they've opened with The Preacher. That's a common opener, and rightfully so. I mean, it's just a classic metal song, and just that the band revving up, then boom, and then Chuck Billy comes out, The Preacher. It's fucking great. It works every time. Obviously, then you get the Aerosmith cover, which is a good cover, in all fairness. I mean, it's a great album, but it is a bit of it's cobbled together, but it is good. So, whatever. Shall I mention this? Yeah, right. So, just out of interest, where was it around? It was Judas Priest during the Nostradamus tour. Was that 2009? God, it weren't that long ago, was it? Bloody hell. When did Nostradamus come out? I've got to look this up now. Well, basically, I saw Judas Priest on the Nostradamus tour, and the support band. So it was at Wembley Arena, and it was Judas Priest, Megadeth, and then Testament opening. And I'll show it on part 2, but I've actually managed to get a bootleg of that gig, so I've got the whole gig, all 3 sets. And when was it? Yeah, 2008. Yeah, so it must have been around roughly 2009. So Testament were the opening bands, Megadeth, then Judas Priest. And at the end of that run in the UK, Testament played not the Forum, Islington Academy, and they did both albums in full. And there was an online petition. We're going to play an album in full. What do you want to hear? And these two won it. Fair enough, but I voted for The Gathering. Just saying. But anyway, I went to that show. Yeah, it was really good. They did skip the Aerosmith cover. And obviously with the intros, yeah, so what'd you get? Like 9? Yeah, about 15 songs. It wasn't as long as you thought. The band just ploughed through it. And do you know what? It was the most... When they played all these songs back to back, it makes you wonder how they fit other songs into the set. Because everything on these first two albums, they're all just classics. They did the albums pretty much back to back. And then they did a couple of numbers off of... I think Formation of Damnation was the latest album. I think they did Formation of Damnation, More Than Meets the Eye. And I think they finished with 2012, 3 Days of Darkness, I think. They did do a couple of numbers at the end that were newer. But yeah, both albums in full, really good. Now, when's next? Well, I know what's next, what year. 1989, so again, just a year later, they banged out Practice What You Preach. Now, out of this initial run, Practice What You Preach is probably... I don't know, the band are reissuing the album this year, and they're doing a like short run of dates where they're playing the album full. I struggle with... It's not that I struggle with it. It's not that I don't like it, but I always found, like I can... With the first two albums or any other albums going, I can pick out certain songs. But, like... In later shows, Practice What You Preach is the only song they play off this album, and I think it's for a reason. Can we be honest? This sees the band a lot more focused, and it feels like all of this would have been new material at the time. And it feels like the first two albums, like they found their formula on this one, and I do think they tried. They kept radio play or maybe MTV in the back of their mind whilst playing it. I don't know that they went commercial or anything like that, but this feels like a good starter album for the band. Now, a lot of people, this is their favourite album, and if this was the first album you bought by Testament and you saw them on tour that year and that was the soundtrack to your summer, then yeah, I would totally understand this being your favourite. But I don't know. I enjoy the album while it's playing, but I find it hard to tell you about stuff afterwards. So Practice What You Preach, the opening track and title track, is obviously a classic. Everyone talks about the ballad, and the ballad's good, but I think what they first attempt with the ballad, they did better later on. Is Confusion Fusion I think that's is that a instrumental? Yeah, it is. And there's Greenhouse Effect. Time Is Coming is a good song. Perilous Nation's a good song. Like they're all good songs. Don't get me wrong. And like I say, it's one of those albums I enjoy it while it's on, but afterwards I'm just kind of meh with it. So I'm probably pissing a lot of people off right now, but it's what it is. Again, it's not that I don't like it. It's just, like I say, the band are going to be doing a number of shows this year where they're playing the album full. And then, don't get me wrong, if they were playing near me, I'd go to it. And I'd hopefully one of the shows gets filmed and ends up on YouTube or whatever, or they release it as a live album. And hopefully seeing the album done live, seeing or hearing the album done live in full, will kind of shake things up a little bit and give me a bit of an appreciation. I think a lot of these songs haven't been played live, and I think being played live might shake the foundations a little bit, So anyway, it's not bad. It's just when you examine an album for doing a review like I do on this channel, it kind of makes apparent sometimes that not all songs stand up individually, or even if they do work nicely is like a chapter of a book that is the album. Anyway, right, next up, 1990, Souls of Black. Now, what I said about them becoming a bit more streamlined, a bit more focused on just songwriting and maybe making things a bit more accessible. They kind of do the same thing on Souls of Black, but I think Souls of Black is the better album. I think this is actually a really underrated album. I think there's some gems on here. I think Beginning of the End is a fantastic... It's not Beginning of the End. Facing the Sky is a great opener. Beginning of the End is the intro. Souls of Black is just a classic. Again, I think that is a classic metal song, regardless of genre. But I mean, the first three songs are great. Love to Hate has got a great solo. Malpractice, I mean, the shredding during that track. And also, is it One Man's Fate? Another great song. Again, blazing solos on both of those. You actually get The Legacy on this album. They're doing for... they do a Led Zeppelin. They put the title track on the album afterwards. But Chuck Billy's vocals on this, I mean, check out Falling Fast. I mean, I think this is, in terms of his clean vocals, it's obviously Chuck Billy is now quite a versatile vocalist especially as he's got older. But he can go from clean vocals to death metal growls and everything in between. In fact, his first death metal growl was during this album. I can't remember what song it was now, but there was a early Envy Life. He actually does like a, an actual death metal fan might have something to say about that, but I think it's his first attempt at it. But yeah, Love to Hate, Malpractice, I mean, I think are two hidden gems on this one. And people think of Souls of Black, the song, and they think, oh, this is where they went Metallica and this is where they went commercial. Souls of Black had a pretty cool video as well for it. I think that was on heavy rotation of MTV, or at least it would have been on Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. And they kind of associate the rest of the album with the song. But there's some shredding on this. There's some heavy stuff. I love that album cover as well. I mean, you know what you're getting with that album cover. You've never heard of Testament before, But yeah, I think this is a gem. I think this is a really underrated album. And yeah, revisit Souls of Black if you haven't listened to it in a while. And then next up we have The Ritual in 1992. Now this is the album everyone forgets. Some people want to forget it, but there you go. I think every band that's been going as long as Testament has, at least, always has that album. It's an album that's either just fully condemned, or it's at least an album that divides the room. And I think The Ritual, The Ritual is that album. After listening to it this week, revisit this album. Whether you're a fan of it or whether you hate it. This album has aged a lot better than you remember, folks. Excuse me. So, right. Some of the songs are too long. The album is 55 minutes long. Let's go back through the albums. So, if we go to The Legacy. The Legacy is 38 minutes. Perfect length for a thrash metal album. The New Order, 35 minutes. Practice What You Preach, 46 minutes. Souls of Black, 39 minutes. So this is the longest album by 10 minutes. That doesn't mean to say there isn't interesting, good stuff on here. Right, now the band... Let's set the scene. It's 1992. The Black Album's happened. Grunge hasn't... Well, I suppose it has exploded in 1992. Obviously, you would have had Smells Like Teen Spirit. The musical landscape was changing. And look, all bands of Testament's league at this point either flat out sold out, went really groovy. I'm thinking Overkill with I Hear Black. or split up. You know, and yeah, I think there is a bit of grunge influence on this album, in the vein of Alice in Chains. But again, Electric Crown, I think, could easily be considered a Testament classic. I think if they pulled that out now live, people would go mad. I think if you was going to do a Testament compilation, you couldn't not have Electric Crown on there. But Agony, the sermon. Obviously, there's Return to Serenity, which I think is a better version of what the band did with the ballad. What was the one on here? There's a song on there. Can't remember which song it is now. Can't remember, but yeah, they start with the ballad, they do better on this album, and I think Return to Serenity as well. Let Go of My World. Where is it? I think it's either the sermon or As the Seasons Grey. Or Agony. Somewhere in the middle, there's a phenomenal solo. There's a couple as well. So the songs tend to revolve around the riff, but what the real interesting stuff on this album is sort of around the midsection of all the songs. When it comes to the solo session, the band basically just go off on a jam session, and it's kind of Sabbathy, it's kind of doomy at times as well, in a, you know, like a Candlemass kind of way. But The Ritual, again, the Ritual is a really good song actually. Does it need to be 7 minutes long though? That's the problem. Again, I think that's the only real thing wrong with this album, is that the songs tend to be a bit too long. I think it could have done with a bit of editing, and it is very unique and very different in the whole Testament catalogue. But I think time's been kind to this album, folks. It's worth a listen, and like I say, I think this album's aged a lot better than what you remember. So this is the underrated one. These two are the underrated Testament. So yeah, at this point, Louis Clemente leaves the band, and the band's put out Return to the Apocalyptic City in 1993. So what you get here is 4 live tracks and 2 studio tracks, I believe. No, you get 1. Yeah, Reign of Terror. So you get Over the Wall, So Many Lies, The Haunting, and Disciples of the Watch live. Where were they recorded, I wonder? Recorded at the Los Angeles Palladium. And oh right, so I thought John Tempesta drummed on this. Let me quickly look it up. Yeah, right. Paul Bostoff from Forbidden, Slayer. He'll join Testament later on. I thought this was John Tempesta. Good job I quickly looked it up. Right, so Paul Bostoff's on the first 4 live tracks of this. And then, right, Louis Clemente's in 5 and 6, right, yeah. Right, well, I'm really glad I looked that up, because I thought John Tempesta was on this. It's actually Paul Bostoff. And then you get Reign of Terror, which I've said 1,000 times at this point, was originally recorded during the New Order. Never made the album, but it was also on that Legacy demo. Again, this is a good little EP as well. Not essential, but a nice little gem to complete your collection, if you can get hold of it. I don't know if it's pretty pricey nowadays, but yeah, great little EP if you can get hold of it. Right, now, around the time of Souls of Black, we've pretty much come to the end of it now. I'm just going to show you one more thing in summary. Around Souls of Black, they put out a video called Seen Between the Lines, and I spent ages looking for my DVD copy of it. I can't find it, but the DVD is in here in my Live at London. Right, I remember at the time of moving house, I think what I did when it came to music DVDs, I basically got rid of cases and just put them all into one. So I'm kind of gutted I did it now, because like I said, I really like that artwork, and that artwork on a DVD looked cool. But for some reason, in trying to make room and fit stuff into boxes, I obviously saw it fit to throw the DVD case away and just put it in with that, because I couldn't throw that away because it's cardboard. So yeah, I'm guessing that's what I did, though I kind of regret it. And I looked it up on to buy today, and this is worth a fortune. So yeah, kind of pissed off. Well, no, I could probably get it for about a tenner, but I'm not paying a tenner just for the case. Anyway, this is worth getting if you are a Testament fan. A good collection of live material, videos, and backstage stuff. And it's really, really good. It's a really good DVD. I'll be covering other DVDs as we go through them as well. Basically, part 2 is going to be really long. So, this is like a taster, really. Exodus part 2 is going to be really long as well. But I thought, do it in part 2, in 2 parts, then I can do the initial run, then whatever. So, yeah, that's it, folks. This is part 1 of the Testament retrospective. And join me for part 2. And we'll start with Low, and we'll work our way up to, well, that album. And hopefully we're going to get a new one this year. They've been recording it long enough. So, yeah, who knows? Yeah, that's about it then, basically. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I've got someone coming on this week, but I'm not going to jinx it. So just look out for a video in the week. Pantera Cast will be starting again soon. And as much as part 2 of Exodus and Testament is coming, my next retrospective is going to be on them. So bear with me while I read this book and listen to the back catalogue and make a bunch of notes. So, but new stuff's coming, as always. Bear with me. And thanks for watching if you got this far. I'm not going to tell you to like and subscribe. You know what to do. You know how YouTube works. So let me know in the comments, though. Tell me what your favourite album is by Testament. What did you disagree with me on? Have you seen Testament live? If so, when? And yeah, take care of yourselves. I'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot.